Hello there, everybody, once again, and welcome back to Adria International Raceway here in the Veneto region of Italy, just an hour's drive north from Venice. We are here for the all-important qualifying session for this weekend's TCR Europe Trophy. This is where some of the finest drivers in European TCR competition are coming here to earn the title of the best in Europe. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Scott Woodward here, giving you the commentary and guiding you through this session this afternoon. This two-part qualifying session will give you more information on how that works in a few moments' time. But, of course, the race we're sure to expect tomorrow can only be decided, really, by how these guys set the grid for tomorrow's first race. So it's been a very busy day of practice already, and so far, we've had quite an entertaining run. This is the entry list of cars you can expect. Cars to watch out for. We've got Kevin Giacon in the Opel, and Aurélien Comte in the Peugeot. The two Liquimoli cars of Luca Engstler and also Florian Toma. Antiburi's in there as well as Francisco Abreu. We also have the Altoes, Giacomo and Giovanni. And, of course, you can't count out drivers like Gabriele Tarquini and also Josh Files, Maxime Petit, and also Plamen Kralev, who put in a very surprising run in the second free practice session to get himself within the top 6 drivers. So as we get into the qualifying session, this is how it works as we look at the man who finished top of pre-practice 2, which was Gabriele Tarquini in the brilliant Hyundai i30N TCR, and I think it's second ever race weekend, given the fact that it debuted in China, and Tarquini took it to its first ever race victory and its first ever competition. But in terms of qualifying, this is how it's going to work. So first of all, the drivers will go off on the first part of the session. We'll see the first, or everyone go out in terms of the session. Just look at the temperatures there. Air 14 degrees, track temperature 16 degrees, humidity has gone down to 76. So the temperatures are starting to slightly rise, humidity is going down. Back to the qualifying format. Everyone will take part in the first part of qualifying, but then the top 12 drivers from that first session will then go through to the second part, and effectively that will almost be a session to decide who will be on the front row and, crucially, who gets pole for the first race. So you may be wondering why there are drivers with 5 points already. The reason is that drivers get a point each for each TCR event that they complete during the 2017 season. So there's a maximum of 5 on offer, and there are 13 drivers that have all scored at least 4 points. So the likes of Files, Engstler, Comte, Abreu, Buri, and down to Luigi Ferrara in the Alfa Romeo. They've all scored at least 4 points. The rest of which are competing, I guess, or either didn't compete in qualifying rounds or in their first event of the year here at Adria. So here we see 2 of the cars that could potentially take pole position. That's number 99, Josh Files, double TCR Germany champion and also TCR Middle East champion. He's bidding to try and add the European trophy title to his ever-growing collection ahead of what can't get my words out today, potentially could be next year a run at the International Championship if the option is available there. But again, 3 of the cars in shot are also ones to watch out for. You've got Gabriele Tarquini in the Hyundai and the 2 Liquimoli Engstler Volkswagens of Luca Engstler and Florian Toma. 2 very young, talented drivers who want to try and get themselves up there. And Luca has already said that this was in testing yesterday. He'll be pushing like hell to make sure he can get himself up there. Here could be a dark horse as well. This is Luigi Ferrara in the Alfa Romeo. Very competent car. Has already won races in the hands of David Kajaya in the International Series over in the opening rounds this year at Georgia. That was his home circuit. He could potentially cause quite a surprise. Another one to watch out for is going to be the bright red Audi of Plamen Kralev, the Bulgarian driver who managed to get himself up in the mix in the standings in TCR Italy. So he managed to get out into the second session after missing the first. And here is one of the Audis, and that colour scheme suggests to me that is Antiburi. He's another driver who has taken race victories this year. He was 8th in the TCR Germany standings with 1 single victory. But he's somebody that the man directly to his right, Josh Files, knows about all too well. So those 2 have been racing together all year. So we are getting set for qualifying to get underway. Remember, the first part will be everyone out at once, and the second part, after a break of 5 minutes, we'll see the top 12 drivers from that Q1 session going through to decide who gets pole for race 1 tomorrow. And then the grid will be set for race 2 by the finishing positions of race 1, where the top 10 will be reversed. So quite simply, if you finish 10th, you will start on pole. Looks to me as if the green light's been given, green flag around the circuit, and the qualifying session Q1 here at Adria International Raceway for the TCR Europe Trophy is underway, and Aurélien Comte in the Peugeot 308 Racing Cup leads the field out onto the circuit. Everyone seems to be going out at once. And now is the battle for track position. Everyone wants to try and get the best possible space to try and put in a quick lap. Another car to watch out for, car 88, Maxime Putty. He is someone who has been competing in TCR and Benelux, and that's one of the WRT Volkswagen Golfs. WRT very prominent as they run cars in the international series, and also they run Audis in sports car racing along, so they've got a good history in motorsport within the last few years, and looking to try and push themselves up through the order. And Maxime, that's a single car entry, but of course it's one of 4 or 5 Golfs in the order. So the circuit itself is only around about 1.6 miles long, 2.7 kilometers in length, or roughly around that sort of designation. And it's very flat, long straights, lots of sweeping corners, big braking zones, lots of slow speed corners to try and test acceleration and braking zones. So all these guys will be out there to try and get the proper run. Target competition team seem confident. Now this is someone we need to talk about, because this is Grigoriev, who went out in practice 2, and actually his session came to a premature end after he threw it off into the gravel up before the chicane, as the green flag flies around the circuit, and already you can see the 2 Liqui-Moly Enxler Volkswagens weaving from side to side to get some temperature into the tyres. And there is the Italian touring car maestro, Gabriele Tarquini, in the Hyundai. We should point out, because that car is still running under a temporary homologation, it will effectively be transparent in terms of point score. So yes, it will obviously be on the podium if it wins the race, but it will not score any points towards the TCR Europe Trophy. The point scoring system is very simple. So you get 25 points for a win, 18 points for second, 15 for third, and then going down from 4th place down to 10th, you get 12 points for 4th, 10 for 5th, and then 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. So that is how that works. You also get points for qualifying. If you start on pole, you'll get 5 points, second will get 4, and then 3, 2, and 1 for third, 4th, and 5th. So watching the first few drivers going out, already you can see there's purple sectors lighting up the timing screens. And we should say hello to everyone who's watching online, whether it's on the TCR Series website or on the Facebook stream or on YouTube. Good to have you with us, and thank you for supporting what is a very up-and-coming format of touring car racing, bringing touring cars to the masses and bringing it to the world in a cost-effective format. So initially it looks as though in this first part of qualifying that we've just got some installation laps after the changes made to the setup and the work done to the cars in the 3-hour break between the end of free practice 2 and the beginning of qualifying. Now it's a frantic run to see who can get the fastest lap around the course. Now the only time that's been set so far is in from Sandro Pilati in one of the Volkswagens, and he has set so far, well, it was a 125.174, but the first few flying laps are coming in, and it is Luigi Ferrara in the number 16 Alfa Romeo that goes top of the times, 122.004. Then it's Kevin Giacon in the Sol Opel Astra TCR is second, 122.110. And then this man, Maxime Putty, 123.740 to currently hold third place. Then we've currently got Sandro Pilati, Francisco Abreu, and Daniele Capellari, who are currently in the 6 drivers that have set a time. Everyone else is in the pit lane, apart from Aurélien Comte and Giacomo Altoe, who was quickest in free practice 1 this morning, and they are all bidding to see if they can get themselves on the front row of the grid. I was speaking to Josh Files before, and he was saying that top 5 is to be expected. Top 3 he'd be happy with. Pole position will be tricky because he knows the Volkswagens and, of course, Tarquini are going to be very difficult to beat with them all being on form. So at the moment, Luigi Ferrara, who is the Alfa Romeo now following Maxime Putty's VW, is currently setting purple sectors on his 2nd flying lap as Putty ejects from the circuit back into pit lane. So Ferrara will be able to head to the timing line unchallenged, and let's see what he can do to dip underneath 122s It should be purples across the board. It is 121.253. Finds another 0.8 of a second to currently go. Obviously, in this early part of Q1, provisionally fastest, but we've still got many of the main drivers to set proper times. Francisco Abreu in the Volkswagen Golf. The Portuguese driver has gone third. There he is. He was TCR Iberico and Portuguese champion in TCR Iberico at least, and the second in the Portuguese championship. Up, down towards the end of the straight. It sort of kinks to the right before you swing round to the left, and then it sort of opens out on the exit as you look to get the power down. There is the Finn Antti-Buri. Car number 10, the Audi RS3 LMS. And this is one of the two Enxler cars. We've got Florian Thoma out on track. Some more times coming in. We've had, obviously, initial times from Altoe and Aurelian, but they're certainly not representative of what they can do. Ollie Kangas goes out at number 4. That's the LMS Racing Seat Leon. And he is following one of the silver Audis, which will be the number 54 of Hermano Dionisio. One of the few DSG gearbox cars. And goodness me, Ollie Kangas didn't really expect Luca Enxler to come across that far, because Luca on a fast lap, trying to get himself up the order. Currently sat, this will be his first flying lap at this point. Josh Files has gone out. Capillari goes 5th quickest in this first part. And also we've had Tarquini and Thoma register times, but again, they have been on out laps. So there is Francisco Abreu, currently sitting in P4, but of course, as the faster drivers come through and the expected front runners start to set their competitive times, Aurélien Comte in the Peugeot has gone 4th quickest, 122.007. with a fastest final sector of anyone else, 25.495 in the final sector. We've got Luca Enxler and Josh Files on fast lap. Josh Files with the fastest first sector of anyone, so he's on a flying lap, and the fastest second sector. So he's possibly one to watch. This is Luca Enxler, and that's not helping him at all. Getting a little bit balked, I think, by Plamen Kralev, who I think is also on a flying lap. So Luca may not appreciate that, but that's the whole business of qualifying. You've got to find clear space wherever you can. Oh, when he gets bulked on the exit as well, Luca had to hit the brakes to try and stop himself from hitting the back of him. And he looks across and gesticulates. "What are you doing, Plamen?" says Luca. But that's part of qualifying. You have to find the spaces. Josh Files pops to the top of the times with a 120.316, and he's immediately joined by his Italian teammate, the youngster Giacomo Altoe. So currently it is a target competition, 1-2 at the top of the times. Florian Thoma jumps up to 4th quickest, 121.336. Still cannot beat 3rd place Luigi Ferrara, though, so a superb lap from the Italian has put him into 3rd place in the Alfa Romeo, but I'm pretty sure it is all smiles down at target competition, as currently in this first part of qualifying, both of their cars are in there. Superb lap, in fact, also from Aurélien Comte, who's jumped into P3, 121.161 for the Peugeot 308 Racing Cup car. That's been entered by DG Sport Competition. This is Antti-Buri. Antti has been on personal best 1st and 2nd. Where can he go? Up to 3rd. Great lap from the Finn in the Audi. Puts himself onto the 2nd row of the into Q2 at least, as he swings into turns 1 and 2. Great lap from him. Looking very close indeed. We're still waiting for representative times particularly from Plamen Kralev and also from Gabriele Tarquini, who has not set a quick lap just yet. The lap he's set so far is a 126.385, but I think he's just winding it up a little bit to try and go for an ultimate fast lap. He did have something on the left front of the car, was vibrating quite substantially, as Ollie Kangas goes to the top 10. And Giovanni Altoe, what a lap from Giovanni. So father beats son. Giovanni is the circuit owner at Adria International Raceway. He has popped in a 120.924 to go 2nd overall, and he's also the top DSG gearbox car. There's a separate contest for DSG cars, and he is comfortably the fastest. So we're now watching, this is Hermano Dionisio in car number 54, down in 15th at the moment, but you want to try and improve on that greatly. Now Antti-Buri is on another personal best. Across the line goes Comte, doesn't improve with it. He does improve his time, but doesn't go higher than 5th. 1 minute 21.086. He's being chased down by the Sandro Pelati Volkswagen Golf, which is down in 16th. And Aurelian's no stranger to 1 Make Series. He's raced in Seats, he's raced in Peugeots, he's raced in Clios as well, so lots of experience for him. This is the Russian Denis Grigoriev. The Russian who, thankfully, keeping it on the road this time after he had his unfortunate excursion into the gravel at the chicane. And he will now come up towards the timing line and look to try and move his way up. Now, Plamen Kralev, I should say, I'm getting my worms mixed up, he's popped up to 9th, but that was with a fastest second sector of anyone else, which has been duped by Gabriele Tarquini, who is on purple in first and second sector. So he's looking to be the man to jump up to pole position. There is Gabriele. And showing the real pace of this Hyundai, of course, took its first ever victory in the hands of Gabriele in China a couple of weeks ago in the International Series. And Josh did say that possibly Gabriele had something left in the tank. Let's see how much as he comes across the timing line and immediately pops up to the top of the times. And first man in the session to go under 1 minute 20, 1 minute 19.923 for Gabriele Tarquini. And he is comfortably fastest by almost 0.4 of a second. That's a superb time. This is Francisco Abreu, personal best for him in sectors 1 and 2. Also for Maxime Putti behind him, so they're trying to move up into the top 10. Remember, it's top 12 that will go through to Q2. Abreu gets in and is now in 10th position. Looking to see who else is improving. There's the Alfa Romeo of Luigi Ferrara. Currently still sat in an impressive 7th place. And Maxime Putti with a fastest final sector goes to 3rd, 120.386. He's still got about 4.5 tenths to find, but great effort from the Belgian in the WRT-prepared Volkswagen Golf GTI. Now, who else is on a personal best lap? Well, Giovanni Altoes just set a personal best second sector. As Francisco Abreu has also set a personal best in sector 1. And this is Ollie Kangas, the Finn, down in 14th. He's got, to get himself into Q2, he's got another half a second to try and find. So he's got a lot to do. The last lap was a personal best, but it's not good enough to get him up there. Currently the top 12 sits Tarquini, Files, Putti, the Altoes, Giacomo ahead of Giovanni, then Burri, Comte, Ferrara, Thomas, Engsler, Abreu, and Plamen Kralev is the man that's on the bubble. He's got about a 2/10 advantage over Kevin Giacon in the Opel Astra TCR. So this here is Abreu, currently sat in maybe not so comfortable 11th place, come across the line, moves up a spot, displaces Luca Engsler, who's a bit of a surprise to see him down there towards the bottom. I guess if he just gets into Q2, that'll be the main thing, but he was up there in free practice 2 with a good pace. Now, Maxime Putti's also on a good lap in 3rd. But he's now on personal best again. In fact, make that 2nd because he's now gone ahead of Josh Files, 1 minute 20.182. So I think anyone that's on the bubble, guys like Kevin Giacon, who is out there, but guys like Luca Engsler and Plamen Kralev, they're going to have to get a move on because they are the ones that are just sitting on the cusp. There is Denis Grigoriev, only managing 16th. It was a personal best lap for him, but he's fractions away from his teammate and fellow Russian, Lev Tolkachev. And his teammate just in the background there in their pair of Innocenti AMG Motorsport Seats. So we now wait for the rest of the session to go through. As we say, on the screen on the left, the numbers that are slightly greyed out, 13th downwards, those are the drivers that will not make it through to the second part. And there's no one really in the top 12 that's improving too much. Abreu's on a personal best in sector 2. That looks like a front wheel of a Hyundai. It is, and that's Gabriele Tarquini, fastest in the session. Abreu goes P6. So Francisco Abreu, the Portuguese and Iberico TCR front-runner, up to P6. Now, this is crucial for Kevin Giacon. He has gone personal best in sector 2, and he gets into P12. That's pretty crucial. Possibly a last-gasp effort for the Italian in the Opel, and he has now pushed out Plamen Kralev, the Bulgarian, in the Audi RS3 to 13th. And he's only done it by about 0.02 of a second, so that's very crucial for him. Maxime Putti looks pretty satisfied with 2nd place. Grigoriev comes across the line and still stays 16th, cannot improve. Neither can Tolkachev. Burri, I think, is on an outlap as well. He's got a little bit of time left as Florian Thoma gives the nod to his mechanics. I think they're just giving a check to some tyre pressures. As Ferrara now, 9th quickest. Personal best again. He's on a quicker lap this time around. How much quicker it'll be? He might pop himself up a couple more places across the line. He does. Great lap from Ferrara. Personal best all round. 1:20.535 to go 4th quickest in the Alfa Romeo. So if you're an Italian fan, well, on their home circuit, they are relishing the challenge here at Adria, and they are taking on the best in Europe because they currently sit at the moment in the top 12, currently 1st, 4th, 5th, 6th and 12th. So that's a good record so far, and Ferrara a little bit over-exuberant into the hairpin at the end of the straight of turns 2 and 3. Similar thing that happened to Aurélien Comte as Ferrara flashes the headlights. The big lock-up trying to get past Capillari on his fast lap, and that, I'm afraid, has completely ruined it. He looks to be safely through in 4th, but he won't appreciate the move there from Daniele Capillari. He did put the headlights on. He was flashing the headlights to get him out of the way, possibly. Just under brakes, and he locks the rears and just brings it around. But in a front-wheel drive car, you simply plant the throttle, and it'll come back through, and that's the second lock-up, trying to get past Capillari. But that's what happens when you dive up the inside and try to make a daring move when it's still qualifying. So Ferrara, we're counting his lucky stars that he is safely through to Q2 by the looks of things. Now then, what about the drivers that are on the bubble? Well, Plamen Kralev has really got to try and get a move on because, as we say, he's nearly 0.02 of a second away from displacing Kevin Giacon. There's Francisco Abreu. He looks pretty satisfied and safe in 7th place. Now, as for Giacon, he wants to try and consolidate his 12th place if he can. Antti Buri's going quicker in Sector 1, so this could be one to watch for the Finn. Former Formula 4 driver for several years, Formula Ford Festival winner. He's been racing in Porsches and been a champion there in his native Finland. And then joined the TCR Germany Championship 2 years ago and got 3 victories last year and got a single victory this year. Ended up 8th in the standings in 2017 as Kevin Giacon heads across the line. Can't improve his time. That was a slower lap, 1:29.769. 13 minutes left in Q1. The rest of the teams seem pretty satisfied to gather some data in the garage. Buri comes across the line to finish his lap, and he's fractions away from improving, but it's a good lap at least, 1:25.065, about 0.02 of a second off the fastest lap that he's managed so far. I can see that Ferrara's on another lap in P4, but he's not going near the sector times he was doing before. He's about 2 seconds off in Sector 2, so that's not going to be a quick lap. Little lock-up from Buri into the first part. Very wayward on the exit, so again, a couple of drivers being caught out by the big braking zone at the end of the straight after turn 1. And that's not the only driver that's had that problem. So maybe a little too much rear brake bias on these cars, possibly, to get the car anchored up. A lot of cars still in the pit lane, including this man, fastest man in the session, Gabriele Tarquini. And let's face it, if you don't know who Gabriele is, then you might just be new to touring cars, because he has been a front runner constantly in Germany, in Italy, in, of course, the British Touring Car Championship, and at European and World Championship level, particularly in the World Touring Car Championship. So, as we said earlier in the practice session, what Gabriele doesn't know about touring car racing probably isn't worth knowing. He's a very wily old fox, but in a good way, lots of experience, and I think Hyundai have probably picked 2 very good drivers to run their program in Tarquini and Alain Menu, and we look forward to seeing how the Hyundai develops against the competition, including, of course, the Alfa Romeo, which is continuing to get stronger and stronger. Ferrara on another quick lap now. He's, I think, winding up for another quick lap because the first sector was way off, as is the second sector. So, yeah, he's just finding his feet now after his little mishap earlier on. There has been some personal bests for Lev Tolkachev in one of the 2 Russian Seats. Personal best in Sector 1. Also the same for Olli Kangas of Finland. Tolkachev goes up to P14, but goes to a 1:21.684. And he's not too far away from P12 either, because that's the bubble, of course. Currently still held by Kevin Giacon. But Kralev and Tolkachev could be the ones to displace him if they can find a good lap amongst a clear spot in the traffic. So 10.5 minutes to go in the first part of qualifying. There is Ollie Kangas. He's not long removed from a success at the 12 Hours of Spa, where he shared a car with Antti Burri, and Antti no stranger to the Seat, as it was the car that he drove in TCR Germany last year, which he took 3 wins with. Burri has continued on in 8th place. Florian Thoma is now out on circuit as well. So the 2 Liqui Engstler VWs, I have to admit, are a little bit lower down than many people probably expected. And that just shows the level of competition here, particularly the local drivers, of course, likes of Ferrara and the 2 Altoes, of which one of them is right here, car 21, Giacomo Altoe. And so far in the family bragging rights, it's son ahead of father, so I'm sure that Giovanni will want to try and one-up him. That said, the gap between the 2 of them is only half a tenth, so they're very evenly matched. So hats off to both of them for being so close together on pace. Ferrara has now done a personal best first sector again as he continues to pound round in the Action Racing Team Alfa Romeo. Across the line he goes and does not improve. He's about 4 tenths off his personal best as we dip underneath 10 minutes in this first part of qualifying. Florian Thoma is on a quicker lap. Not so quick first sector, but the second sector is a personal best. So he's going to hope to try and move up a little bit more. I wonder if potentially the 2 Volkswagens are thinking that they're into Q2, but now seeing the time starting to come in, potentially they might think they're not so safe. So I suspect that Thoma and Luca Engstler that is now out as Thoma goes P5. Good lap from Florian Thoma, the young Swiss, as he goes to a 1:20.873. So he pops up into P5 and pretty comfortably through. Is a lock-up from Grigoriev in the Seat. That won't help his lap time. It was a personal best for him in Sector 1 as he went green. Not so much in the second sector, and that final corner won't have helped. He does still go quicker, though, than his personal best. 1:21.988, but he's still got some time to find to get anywhere near Q2. He's got about half a second, and that's not necessarily easy to find when you're sort of right on the limit. But very evenly matched times, though, as Aurélien Comte in the Peugeot goes up to 8th place, 1:21.009. We've got 5, possibly 6 different manufacturers up in the top 10, which just shows how competitive TCR really has become in such a short space of time. Engstler goes 8th quickest across the line, 1:20.938. He breaks into sub 1:21, and up also, crucially, goes Plamen Kralev in the Bulgarian in the Audi. Car number 44, now 9th quickest, 1:20.995, about 600ths off Engstler's time, and that is pretty crucial because that means that it's Antti Burri on the bubble, and he's got a 4/10 of a second cushion on Kevin Giacon, and that is not an easy gap to try and bring down for the Italian. He possibly could struggle, and he could be the top of the drivers that get eliminated from Q1. So that was a critical lap from Plamen Kralev. Great effort. We've got personal bests also coming in Sector 1 again from Engstler and Comte in 8th and 10th respectively, and Luca Engstler possibly could get himself a little bit higher up the order before this first part of qualifying is done. Now then, I think possibly we could be seeing Gabriele Tarquini out in a few moments' time to try and consolidate his current fastest time in Q1. Comte come across the line and goes up to 5th quickest. Good lap for the Peugeot. So it might be a modified Racing Cup car, and the TCR version of this machine is on its way. But the Racing Cup car has been balanced thanks to the balance of performance to keep it in line with everything else. And that's the key thing. With balance of performance, it makes sure that every single car has got as equal a chance to win as all the others. Plamen Kralev comes across the line. Luca Engstler has also gone up to P5. Good lap from the young German, son of Franz Engstler, who of course runs the team himself and ran in touring cars for quite a while. He's had long-term Liqui sponsorship, so it's good to see a long-term supporter of the team. And there's a few cars still in the pits. We've got about roughly half the field out on circuit. No one in the top 4 is currently out. So we've still got Tarquini, Putti, Files and Ferrara in pit lane. And there is Ferrara in the Alfa Romeo. And he will hope that he can possibly be a dark horse here. And the Alfa Romeo very capable, as we said before, that right at the beginning of the season in the International Championship in Georgia, there was a victory taken by the local boy, David Kajaya. And certainly continuing the development of the Alfa Romeo, showing that it's getting stronger and stronger with every weekend it drives. There's Ollie Kangas in the Seat. He's currently sat in 15th. He needs to find literally another 0.7 of a second or so to get himself up into Q2 if it's possible. And a lot of people now still in the pit lane. It's relatively quiet out on track, plenty of space, but then again, it's quite a short circuit because it is only, in terms of length, about 1.6 miles, so it's not really a long lap. 1.679 miles to be exact, 2.7 kilometres. And because it's rather flat, there's not too many elevation changes, I should say. So because of that, it's a pretty simple circuit to get to grips with, but there are a couple of points where it'll catch you out, particularly the braking zone at the end of the back straight after turn 1. We've seen a couple of drivers come unstuck there. As Ollie Kangas winds it up out of the final corner onto the pit straight. And he's not near his personal best. He's about 0.6 of a second off and stays in P15 for the time being. Now, Josh Files has just gone out of the pit lane, so he is now looking to get himself a little bit higher up if he can. Just at the commentary box, I can also hear cars going out of pit lane. I can't quite see who that is just yet, but here is Josh Files, double German and Middle Eastern TCR champion. And he has ambitions to move into the International Series. But so far, he would love to add the European title to his repertoire as well. He's going to come out of the final corner and get prepared for a flying lap. So down the pit straight goes the Brit from Norwich into turn 1. Nice and smooth and steady for the Honda. The target competition cars are the only 2 Hondas in the field this weekend. The other one driven by Giacomo Altoe, and Altoe himself has driven probably the most different TCR cars out of everyone in this field. He's driven 5 different TCR cars. He's driven the Alfa Romeo, the Honda now this weekend, as well as the Volkswagen and the Audi. And the other car which he has driven, which isn't here this weekend, but it was originally listed to be here, is the Subaru WRX STI, which is run by the Italian outfit Top Run Motorsport. But sadly, the car was not able to be here, and in its place came Kevin Giacon's Dayglow Orange Opel Astra. So we've still got 8 different manufacturers represented here this weekend, which is fantastic to see so many homologated cars out in action. And of course, next year we'll see the likes of Peugeot. The Hyundai will be more developed. You might hopefully see some more action from the Kia, because that's been out a couple of times in the International Series. There are other manufacturers that have a car homologated, like Ford with the Focus, but I believe that car currently resides with a Chinese outfit over in Asia. And we're at that point in the session with about just under 2.5 minutes to go. There's not really that many changing. As I say that, it does just change because Antti Buri has popped up to P5 now. So looking at the times, it does mean that it's Francisco Abreu who is now still on the bubble in P12, but he still has that 4.5 advantage. And 2 Audis working together. Plamen Kralev is inadvertently giving Antti Buri a bit of a tow. Now, Kralev is only 11th, and his gap over Francisco Abreu is only about 1/10 of a second, as Giacomo Altoe pops in the fastest final sector of anyone and goes to 3rd quickest, 1:20.287 to dupe his teammate Josh Files. So the top 3 still reads as Tarquini, Putti and Giacomo Altoe. Josh Files currently residing in 4th, but he's in the pit lane right now, so that was just a quick outlap for him. Antti Buri continues to circulate, but again, he's backed off on this lap because he's 2 seconds off in Sector 1, so he's not going to be moving up anytime soon. So with just under a minute and 20 to go, Tarquini heads out for another sighter, which I think will be just to dial in the car before he gets ready for his quest for pole in Q2. The only car which we haven't seen out in the session is the other silver Audi RS3 of Giovanni Berton. So he looks to be starting from the back of the grid by the looks of things. The other one, which has just gone through the shot there, was Hermano Dionisio. Now, it was right here in free practice 2 that the front left of the Hyundai was vibrating away like crazy. Thankfully, it seems to have been solved, whatever the problem was on that part of the car. As Antti Buri gets pushed back into the garage. he looks to be comfortably into Q2, and I can't really see anyone else sort of popping up unless they find an extraordinary amount of time, because of course everyone below 12th place has got to find at least 4/10 of a second, and with the field this close, the spread of time is only really 3 seconds, but between first to 18th is 2.2. That's easier said than done, you have to say. Giovanni Altoe, father of Giacomo, owner of the Adria International Raceway, which, as you can see on the side of his number 52 Volkswagen Golf, is also the home of the TCR Academy for both sprint and endurance. As the checkered flag falls on Q1, Kevin Giacon comes across the line, and he does make P12. That's an incredible effort from Kevin Giacon in the final moments of Q1. He displaces Francisco Abreu, who is not out on circuit, so a mega effort from the Technodome Opel Astra TCR to put himself up into the final position for Q2. So we said it was possibly an extraordinary amount of time, but not for Kevin Giacon, it wasn't. Altoe stays in P10. So Giovanni's done enough. Both Altoes are into the second part of qualifying. But what an extraordinary lap that was. Kevin Giacon pulling about 4/10 of a second from somewhere. And that will certainly delight him and the team when he finds out that he's through. And there's not many more cars to cross the line. We've only got Ollie Kangas and Sandro Palati, but they're not going to get any higher up the order. No, Ollie Kangas stays 15th on that lap, and Sandro Palati will do as well. There's going to be about a 5-minute break now between sessions whilst we get things sorted. But looking at the timing screen, the top 12 does appear to be Gabriele Tarquini goes through as fastest in Q1. Maxime Putti looks to be going through in P2. And it's Giacomo Altoe, Josh Files, and Luigi Ferrara in the Alfa Romeo he'll start Q2 as 5th fastest. Then Antti Buri in 6th, Luca Engstler 7th, Aurélien Comte in 8th, Florian Thomas in 9th, Giovanni Altoe in 10th, and then Plamen Kralev and Francisco Abreu round out the 12 cars that will make it through. And that's odd, because I think that's changed on the timing screen for some reason, either because that didn't count for Giacon potentially. Ah, there it goes, it's come up on the screen. That's the reason why. You can see he was pushing so hard. It says that car number 5 has had its last lap time deleted due to not respecting track limits. So that's a decision by the stewards. So unfortunately, the moment of glory for Kevin Giacon, I'm afraid, has fizzled out, because the stewards have deemed his lap that at some point he did not respect track limits enough. So rules are rules, and he has to be dropped down to 13th. So it means that Francisco Abreu gets a break and gets popped back into P12, and so it's those 12 cars that will duel for the first 12 grid slots for the first race tomorrow afternoon. But this is the man they're all out to beat, Gabriele Tarquini. We should mention that because the car, as we mentioned earlier on, is still under a temporary homologation, because of that it will not score any points towards the TCR Trophy standings, but he will still be included in the results. So because of that, even if he wins the race, he'll still be up on the podium, he'll still collect a trophy, but it won't recognise it. So whoever finishes second will get those points. Confirmation of the result in Q1 then. Tarquini fastest by just over a quarter of a second from Maxime Putti, from Giacomo Altoe, Josh Files and Luigi Ferrara, with Antti Buri, Luca Engstler, Aurélien Comte, Florian Thomas and Giovanni Altoe completing the top 10, covered by a fraction over a second. That's just how close it was in that qualifying session. The last 2 cars through are Plamen Kralev and Francisco Abreu, with Kevin Giacon top of the ones that go out, along with Lev Tokachev, Ollie Kangas, Denis Grigoriev, then Sandro Palati, Hermano Dionisio and Daniele Capellari, with no time set for Giovanni Berton in the second of the silver Audi's kart number 55. So this is where it starts to get serious, if it wasn't already, because of course now this really is all about single lap pace. Getting through to Q1 is one thing, but now the circuit's been a little bit more rubbered in. They've used that sort of half an hour to 35 minutes to get the car properly dialed in, and then it'll be do or die for the final session. So Q2 is set to start in about, says to start on time at 15:35. My time says we're actually at 15:35 already, but it is going to be a 5-minute break anyway, just for the cars to be prepared and for the final few adjustments to be made before the circuit goes green once again. And you have to say that I think potentially anyone in those top 6 or 7 points could potentially, if they can pull something special out of the bag, could stand a chance of pole position. So some of the favourites are obviously the 2 target competition cars, Gabriele Tarquini in the Hyundai as well. Luca Engstler's pretty quick for his first full year in TCR. But what about some of the wild cards here? Some of the drivers that potentially could cause a surprise. Maxime Putti's been going well in his WRT-prepared Volkswagen. Antti Buri's up there in P6, someone that Josh Fars knows all too well. What about Comte, Thomas and the rest? The green flag flies, and now this is where the last 15 minutes of the session really count, because now they head out to see who will take pole position for the first race of the weekend for the TCR Europe Trophy. So it's the Peugeot out, followed by the 2 Liqui Moly Engstler Volkswagens, then Giacomo and Giovanni Altoe, then Josh Fars, and then Antti Buri. And this is the point now where with 12 cars out on track, track position and space around you is absolutely vital. You really do have to nail a lap with no one around you and hope that there's no traffic that you come across on your lap, as Luigi Ferrara and Francisco Abreu also head out onto the circuit. The only cars that haven't made it out just yet and are waiting for a little bit more clear space are Tarquini, Putti and Kralev. So they want to get a proper run. The 2 Engstler cars were running in line astern out of pit lane, so I suspect they may possibly work together a little bit, potentially on the straights. As here come Tarquini and Putti. And so can Gabriele Tarquini put himself on pole position? And I think, someone I'm sure will correct me, I think possibly give the Hyundai its first actual competitive pole position. I'm pretty confident. Someone like Gabriele at the wheel, you wouldn't bet against him, would you? So out of the hairpin he goes, plenty of clear space around him, which is exactly what he was after. And those cars that went out for the first lap, they have already gone through in order to run through. Now, Plamen Kralev is the only car that hasn't gone out just yet in car 44. His is still on the jack, so I wonder if potentially just trying to make a couple of last-minute adjustments and waiting for a small gap. As we now look at Luca Engstler, top rookie in the TCR Germany Championship this year. Finished about 12th in the standings. And behind him also is Florian Thomas. Now, Thomas as well is another one to watch, the young Swiss driver. He took a victory at Oschersleben in TCR Germany right towards the beginning of the season. And since then, he kept himself in contention all the way through. So watch for these 2 to possibly spring a surprise as they negotiate the chicane at the end of the back straight. And watching sector times already. Now, so far, the man that's setting the sector times alight is Giacomo Altoe so far. Of course, we haven't seen anything representative yet from Tarquini or Putti, but out of everyone that's on track at the moment, it is Altoe who appears to be the fastest man so far. So the 2 Liqui Moly Engstler Volkswagens out of the final corner. Let's see what the first flying laps are going to be like. Engstler punches it across the line. He does a 1:25.84, 1:21.3 for Florian Thomas. Comp does a 1:21.3, whilst Altoe goes provisionally fastest, 1:20.038. Josh Files goes third on a 1:22.268, but Buri then trumps him. Giovanni Altoe is 5th. So Buri, Files and Giovanni Altoe are all on 1:21.2s. But so far, on provisional pole right now, by just over half a second, is Altoe. But here comes Tarquini, fastest first sector of anyone in this session so far. It's a personal best in sector 2, and a little bit off the pace, so he's got something. And look at the vibration again under brakes. That car was vibrating horribly as he went through the last couple of corners, so I wonder if that's the problem reoccurring itself again. And I think Gabriele was saying that if it looks bad on the outside, on the inside, it's probably shaking the bones out of his wrists on the steering wheel column. And that's the reason why he only goes 9th. So, is that problem going to potentially cost Tarquini a shot at pole position? I'm not sure if it's going to be a fix that will be resolved in about 11 minutes or so in the pit lane. But we'll have to wait and see if that continues to affect him in the session. Engstler goes quicker on this lap and does a 1:20.126. Compt has gone third, 1:20.8 I should say. Files then goes to P3. 120.191 for the Brit. As the car rotates nicely through turn one, a little wayward on the exit, but he has it comfortably gathered up. Entler set the fastest final sector of anyone. Now Tarquini again has gone fastest in sector one, so the question's got to be, what is his sector two time like? Last time he did 25. He is purple in sector two. Now then, down towards this corner here, do we get the vibration again? Not really. There was a tiny hint of it, but it looks as though possibly it seemed to solve itself pretty well. So Tarquini then is on course potentially to go provisional pole after just 5 minutes of the session, out of the final couple of corners. He brings the Hyundai i30N TCR to the timing line and does indeed go faster. So what a time, 119.341. So Josh Files wasn't actually joking as it starts vibrating again on the front end. I hate to mention it too many times, but that is something very strange indeed. But even so, whatever it was, has managed to hold itself off enough to allow him to pop in a very quick lap time. And the final sector, absolutely rapid, 24.8 in the final sector. Superb run from Gabriele Tarquini. Giacomo Altoe, who we see on screen right now, heads into the pits. He is currently provisionally Tarquini's dance partner on the front row of the grid. Improvement for Maxime Putti as the Belgian goes to P5. Plamen Kralev has also set his first flying lap, and that is 121.627 to go 11th fastest so far. He's got a good gap of about 0.6 of a second on Francisco Abreu as the target competition team get to work changing the tyres on Altoe's car. Now Abreu's gone P6. That's a good lap from the Iberico and Portuguese TCR front runner. So great effort from the Volkswagen. Now, I do believe that in terms of the TCR DSG equipped cars, it should still be Giovanni Altoe who is the quickest. Now Putti is on a faster lap this time, still in P5. Personal best in sectors 1 and 2, so he'll be looking to try and improve and jump up the order a little bit. He's got about 0.4 of a second to find on Josh Files, so whether he'll be able to dupe him or not, we'll have to wait and see. Comes across the line and doesn't move up further than P5, but does improve his time by about 0.3. So 1:20.251 for the Belgian. The WRT Volkswagen working beautifully in this session. We've just gone past, we're coming up to the halfway point. It was a 15-minute session for Q2, and we're coming up to the half-distance marker as Josh Files brings the 99 target competition Honda Civic into the pit lane. We've still got 7 cars circulating on the circuit, the highest placed of which is Maxime Putti. He's going fastest again in Sector 1. As Giovanni Altoe comes across the line, it still stays in P9. And he has got 1.2 seconds to make up on his son, but credit where credit's due. It's a good effort nonetheless from Giovanni. He's been getting some sneaky practice on the circuit he owns at the academy in which is based at this circuit for TCR, then quite frankly, I don't blame him. Now, Putti has once again been going pretty quick in Sector 1. He's a little off in Sector 2 by a couple of tenths. So as the final couple of corners comes the Belgian. I don't think he'll improve too much, but he'll be on a consistent lap anyway. No, he's about 0.2 off that personal best as he came across the line. So, Putti looking for another run as Florian Thoma heads up to 8th place, 120.916, as Josh Files has also headed out of pit lane as well, so he wants to go for top 3. Now he's only got about 6/7 hundredths of a second, I should say. Here's Plamen Kralev. Goes Plamen up to P9 for the Bulgarian. Good lap from him, 121.060 to put the Audi inside the top 10. And it is the 2 Audis in this Q2 session that bottom end the top 10 of the running order, with Giovanni Altoe and Luigi Ferrara. That's the base in 11th and 12th. Now, Luigi Ferrara is going on a personal best this time. The track will be nicely rubbered in by now, so just cocking a wheel as he heads through the final few corners. No lock-ups, nice and smooth through the final right-hander. Then the flat-out kink towards the timing line. Here's P12 right now. Where will it move him up to? Oh, great lap from the Alfa Romeo. P5, 120.229 for Luigi Ferrara in the Alfa Romeo. That will send the Italian fans crazy. So first, second and fifth for Italian drivers in this race so far. And here is Giacomo Altoe, the man who currently sits on the front row of the grid, but he is going faster. Now, granted, he has got about 7/10 of a second to make up, but even so, he's pushing as much as he can. It's great to see someone as young as Giacomo on the pace against somebody as experienced as Gabriele Tarquini. Across the line he goes, and he does improve, but not by much. He does dip into the 119s, 119.925, but that time step by Gabriele Tarquini, a 119.3, that's a great lap. I think Josh Fars, that proves his point that he thought that Tarquini still had something left in the bag, and he wasn't kidding. So, no one else really yet on a personal best lap so far. I mean, the last few laps that have been done. Now then, I say that, and Josh Files has just popped in the fastest first sector of anyone as Antti Buri comes across the line, but doesn't improve his time. So I think also we have to watch for the two target competition Hondas, because also Giacomo Altoe has put in his personal best in Sector 1, but it's Josh Files we have to watch now, because in P4 at the moment, I wonder if he'll stay there. Now, he wants to get into the top 3. He thought pole was a little bit far-fetched, but we'll have to wait and see what he's got left in the tank. He's got a little bit of traffic in front of him, including the number 7, the Peugeot of Aurélien Comte. It's still a personal best in Sector 2. I don't think, yes, that's quite wise from Comte. Good driving from Aurélien to get out of the way. As round the final couple of corners comes the Brit in the target competition Honda. Can he possibly get onto the front row of the grid? Across the line he goes, and he does make it onto the front row. Great lap, 119.518 for the German and Middle Eastern champion of 2017, Josh Viles. And that will be very crucial, with Giacomo Altoe improving his time further, but now 3/10 behind his teammate. 119.815, so it's currently Honda's second and third behind the Hyundai on pole. Then it's Volkswagen's 5th, 7th, so 4th, 7th and 8th, because Luca Engstler is up into P4 now, ahead of Luigi Ferrara. Here's Antti Buri, personal best in Sector 1. And he goes up to 8th with that lap. A good final Sector 2 puts him inside the top 10. So the former Formula Ford driver, former Formula Ford Festival winner, and third place man of the championship, or at least he was high up in the championship in 2016 in TCR Germany, has been able to get a little bit further up the order. No one yet on a better lap at all at this point. I'm not seeing any more green sectors. Everyone seems to be going underneath their personal best. Tarquini is back out on the track. I'm not sure if he feels very comfortable on pole position now, because he's seen the time of Josh Fowles and thought maybe I need to do possibly one more run as the target competition Hondas enter pit lane in tandem. Files ahead of Altoe. And there is just going to be a last-minute change before they go for another shoot for pole position. Currently still held by this man, Gabriele Tarquini. Now, he's sure he's got, I think, about one run left to go. Antti Buri, meanwhile, he's gone faster than he's gone so far in this session in Sector 1. He's off in Sector 2, and ending up behind Tarquini may not help things, but comes across the line. Can he still improve? He can improve the time up to P7 now. So despite Tarquini just in front of him, who was winding up for a fast lap anyway, he is now looking to get further up the order if he can. Now, what about Tarquini this time? Has he got anything left? We thought that he'd used up all of his extra talent and extra bag of tricks, but does he have one possible final rabbit to pull out of the hat here and potentially go even quicker? Can he possibly improve on 1 minute 19.341? Only the sector times will tell us. Luigi Ferrara goes across the line, but he stays 5th in the Alfa Romeo. And Aurélien Comte has had a warning for staying off the racing line on slow laps, so he's got to be careful in that respect. Personal best in Sector 2 for Comte. And he does improve his time to a 120.7, but stays 9th. So that's the final corner. And I think possibly Tarquini, has he abandoned that lap? Because he slowed down. He was on the pace in the first sector anyway, but he's really backed off on this lap, so maybe he's just winding up for a new one, or is he going to tour into the pit lane? He is coming into pit lane, so something has happened. Maybe he's had a spin, or a major moment that the cameras haven't picked up just yet. I wonder possibly if something has happened, we can get a replay, but I think they've got it. 30 seconds left in the session, and the Hyundai Motorsport mechanics are giving congratulations to each other on the pit wall, and they feel that they've done enough. Because Files is not out on track, neither is Altoe or Engstler or Ferrara. So unless someone is willing to correct me, I believe that must be Hyundai's first ever TCR pole position, and what a way to do it. Gabriele Tarquini gets the round of applause from his team after a superb effort. And one has to wonder if this is what they can achieve in their first few races as a TCR manufacturer. Just what can they achieve going forward into next season? It does bode good things. Now, Aurélien Comte is improved in Sector 2. He comes across the line, cannot go higher than 9th. But again, doesn't improve his time. He misses out by just under a 10th. But that's a good effort from the Peugeot driver. Inside the top 10. But back down with Hyundai, and it is smiles all round for the team, including, I'm sure, a very happy Gabriele Tarquini. You can see the smile beaming from ear to ear underneath his helmet. And that's going to be interesting. It'll be Gabriele Tarquini starting alongside Josh Files on the front row of the grid. Now, Francisco Abreu is also out there. Now, he's done his fastest first sector of the entire session, so he's not done just yet. One more lap still to go. Now, where is he now? He's really not that far away from Antiburi at this point. He is off in the second sector. But if that first sector is enough, he might find just a fraction more time in the last sector to get himself a little bit higher up. Out of the final couple of corners, Abreu will race for the line and the checkered flag. And the lap time puts him still 8th, and he's about 2/10 off that pace. So he lost time, particularly in that second sector. But he will start from the 4th row of the grid. So he is the last car to hit the checkered flag, and we'll get the confirmation of the grid in front of him in second place. But they're still celebrating down there, congratulating on a job well done. So Hyundai are quick, but the Hondas are lurking, 2nd and 3rd. And of course, don't count out the Volkswagens. Do not count out the likes of Engstler or Putti or even Florian Thoma, who I think will be disappointed back down in P10. And what possibly could the Audis do? Because we've got Antiburi in 7th place, Plamen Kralev in 11th, and also possibly the wild card could be that Alfa Romeo of Luigi Ferrara. But at the moment, it's Hyundai who are the team to beat. Here's the final classification for qualifying. It's Tarquini on pole position by almost 2/10 of a second from Josh Files. That will be the front row of the grid. Giacomo and Altoe and Luca Engstler will be on row 2 ahead of Luigi Ferrara and Maxime Putti, Antiburi, Francisco Abreu, Aurélien Comte and Florian Thoma, with Plamen Kralev and Giovanni Altoe rounding out the top 12 in that second part of qualifying. That is our grid for the first race of the TCR Europe Trophy tomorrow afternoon. And it should be a very interesting run down towards turn 1 with the drag race between Hyundai and Honda in the run for glory. Of course, Tarquini won't score any points, but of course, he'll want the bragging rights and the whole shot into P1. And if you're an eagle-eyed touring car fan, you'll spot a certain Mr. Fabrizio Giovanardi in the back of the Hyundai garage. He's here supporting his good friend and compatriot, Gabriele Tarquini. And debrief begins, but I don't think, even with the vibration on the front of that car, it wasn't causing too many problems. But this is, we're going to get a replay of it here, possibly. And yeah, look at that, just the way it shakes the front end of the car under braking. And now, either that's a suspension problem or a braking issue or something, but it was very intermittent from what I could see. So that's an interesting part to look out for. The Hyundai mechanics will have to look at that next over the course of the afternoon and the evening before tomorrow. This man could cause a surprise tomorrow. Luigi Ferrara in the Alfa Romeo. We know it's a race-winning car. Luigi's been setting some very competitive lap times over testing in practice and in qualifying. So there is a chance that if any of the front runners fall foul of each other or make any mistakes, he could pounce and possibly score a podium. So also the Hondas in the mix as well. Altoe will dearly want to get himself a race win. Josh Files wants that European title to add to his German and Middle Eastern exploits. And also Antiburi at the right of shot, someone that Josh knows very well, having both competed in TCR Germany for the past couple of seasons together as rivals on circuit. And thanks to the qualifying points, this is how it stands. with the points handed out after qualifying. So going into the first race, Josh Files leads with 9 points, from Giacomo Altoe with 8, Enxler with Altoe has 9, I should apologise. Enxler has 8, Ferrara 6, along with Putti, and then we have Abreu, Burri, Comte, Grigoriev, and Kangas, the top 10. So, of course, Tarquini doesn't score any points as that car is transparent as it's under temporary homologation, with Kralev, Toma, and Tokalchev getting the rest of the points down to 13th. Everyone else will have to try and do the best they can to try and improve and get as many points in the final 10. So that is how qualifying stands. This should be a very interesting first race. It will be Tarquini and Files on the front row of the grid, but what can anyone else do behind them to try and stop them? Well, here's some highlights from qualifying. Enjoy these as we head out the programme. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow for the first race of TCR Europe. As we said, it's Tarquini and Files on the front row of the grid, with Giacomo Altoe, Luca Enxler, and everyone else behind them, a top 12 looking to try and improve. Who's going to win race 1? Who will take the title? Join us tomorrow. For myself, Scott Woodward, and all of us here at Adria International Raceway, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you for the first race of TCR Europe tomorrow morning. Bye for now.